Nick, were you a black hatter in the past?
I got my start in SEO because a friend and I were working
Also, we're
for
both wearing black hats,
yeah,
which
right.
is kind of
Cool. Um
throwing up the
Got
bat
me
signal.
into it. And we were in a school of thought or a learning resource that did teach more black hat style techniques, right? So I would consider myself a gray hat SEO because my start and the first thing I really latched on to and got obsessed with was PBNs, which is why I really caution people about PBNs. I have a bit of OCD and I don't like to give up on stuff. And since PBNs pose such a challenge to my brain, I ended up just going really hard. And I spent a lot of time trying to perfect PBN. I remember the first PBN I ever built was about 20 expired domains and I was using it on a client site and a couple other sites as well. And it was actually working beautifully. But in my head, being somebody with a lack of experience in SEO, I ended up going crazy thinking that I was harming my entire, what I was doing. And I remember one day I contacted all my registrars and I said, I need to get rid of these sites. And they were like, what? And I was like, I just don't want them anymore. I want them gone. And I don't know what they did with them. I really don't. Because I remember contacting Namecheap support and I literally did that. It was all
You just told them
fine
to
and
get
well,
rid
but
of
I
the
freaked
domains.
out. Dude, I'd hit a breaking point where I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm hurting
You
my like
probably you
ability to
probably
rank
like
and
read
stuff.
an
And I,
article about how PBNs get you
dude,
penalized or something.
yeah, well, no, I already knew that they could get you penalized. It was just, I didn't think they were strong enough, worth keeping. The money, was going out. We weren't making money yet. And so, yeah, I hit a breaking point and I lost it. And then, it wasn't until like a couple months later, or a few months later that I'd cooled off and like, made sense of everything. And I was like, damn it, those those were working just fine. But that's the type of learning curve you go through in trying to figure some of this stuff out. Now, I consider PBN is black hat as I get or have gotten. I don't code. I don't do anything. That's it. Like as far as using like high-end spam tactics and stuff that we've talked
Um,
about in here, no, I'm not proficient in that kind of stuff. Now, early on, I did use GSA to rank things when it would work, but that was as simple back in the day as finding a quality GSA vendor who knew how things worked on Fiverr and then executing using that. I didn't run campaigns on my own. Never learned how to do that. And now um, you know, it, PBN is still something I use, but I use it a lot more naturally, and I use it a lot more sparingly. For backlinking campaigns that last 6 months, my link profile, as far as like PBNs go, is going to be like maybe like 3-4% tops, really, maybe up to 5, but I'm not getting towards 10% PBN. And then as far as spam tactics, I do use them, um, but I use it in conjunction with like more natural link building that I do early on before I get to the more spammy stuff. So, I would consider myself a gray hat. I've always been a gray hat, and I probably always will be because
yeah,
just by the idea of purchasing and using backlinks, I'm automatically black hat according to Google. So.
yeah. It just depends how you get. I will say, even by our standards, we've definitely become more. Been pushed more to the white hat side over time. But I would still definitely say we're definitely gray hat, for being kind of honest about it, because we do like to use PBNs, just not as much as, just not as heavily as before, really. But just to kind of clarify as well, as far as the stuff that like, that we sell, with our company, everything is indicated like, what kind of hat it is. So for example, on like our PBN page, we clearly label it as, this is a black hat type of link. So, obviously want to be following best practices and safety if you're using this kind of thing. But yeah, everything else, depending on what kind of SEO you talk to, they'll either consider these things. Some of them they're white hat, like diversity links, pill links, social signals, social profile,
Citations, yeah.
citations. These are just like pure white hat. There's no way you could ever classify them as not white hat. But then you have the stuff like the guest posts and the niche edits, which people kind of bounce back and forth on. Is this white hat? Is this gray hat? Some even hardcore people might even consider that black hat. But I think they're kind of living in a little bit of a fantasy world where
Yeah,
they think they
because
can do outreach and get free
self-control.
links or just not do outreach at all. Or
Yeah, or that Fortune 500 companies are naturally building their link profiles,
yeah,
exclusively.
yeah, you guys will be surprised like how big of companies are just buying tons of links very
Tons.
regularly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I definitely consider us white or gray hat now because we do like to use PPN links, but definitely more in the past. It's definitely a little bit of a different situation.
And don't think that when I got started, I didn't want to be pure black hat, because I would spin content. I was opposed to writing content. I wanted easy street. So I would spin content. I would throw it up. I would look for every garbage hack some guru would talk about, and I'd give it a try. And lo and behold, uh, doing things the right way actually made my life a whole lot easier. So yeah,
I
yeah,
just
I would, recommend. Yeah.
just to throw in one more thing as well. I actually we still really respect black hat SEOs who do like cool black hat stuff. And I'm
Yeah,
not talking
I love
about
seeing a spammy site
yeah,
that works.
they're really they're the ones that are really like pushing the limit as far as where the algorithm currently is and what they can get away with doing.
Hmm.
Just maybe in our old age and kind of just the way that we have gravitated towards building sites. We just do things in a much more conservative way now. It's not saying that the black hat stuff like absolutely can't just be incredible and work incredibly. It's just it takes a lot more skill, and you're always running a higher amount of risk, and that's just that amount of risk is just something that we have moved away from in a
And
sense.
yeah, and the people that are really good at black hat campaigns, they're extremely technical. They understand this stuff on a level that I don't imagine that I could even really get to in a quick time frame. We're talking about people that really understand algorithms, really understand how to build link networks that are gonna, be able to attack what they think these algorithms variables are based on. And yeah, it's incredibly interesting. But I don't have a problem admitting that I'm a simp when it comes to technology
Yeah.
for the most part. And what I've come to find is I like peace of mind when building my campaigns more than I like the quick route to mediocre success that might not even last. Again, we've talked about it before, but these people that are doing like extreme spam techniques across thousands of websites, across X amount of SERPs, they're in a different campaign. They're proficient in running bots. They're proficient in spinning content to a certain degree. They really they understand these things to a level that it would take years of study, and there's nobody giving out that kind of information. There's no internship. So yeah, it's interesting if you find these sites doing SERP scans using Ahrefs and stuff like that, and you're wondering why they rank, or you see some SERPs that are exclusively taken over by these black hat techniques. And one that I've talked about before is whenever you see a big sporting event type, the big sporting event, so UFC fights, live, free, online Google search, you're going to see the same formula take over the entire SERP. These sites are going to die. They probably, are running these campaigns across 1,000 websites. I don't really know. But it's a place where you can kind of dig into what a real black hat SEO does. And in that regard, I'm a little white hat puppy.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
from like an actual like black hat's perspective, like
Yeah, they probably think we're
they
dumb.
probably just say like we're like as white hat as you can get.
Yeah.
It all really
Yeah,
depends
yeah.
on
Oh,
perspective,
these
right?
guys use PBNs. Look out, guys. Look out. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's everything in any paradigm is based on how extreme and how good somebody can get at a particular craft. And yeah, as far as like real black hats, as far as just, and I haven't even met them, right? I don't know them. I've tried to find some so that I could, pick their brains a bit, but they don't want to share this information. They don't want to share the fact that they do this stuff either. So, you've got to imagine that some of these people are probably hermits, that exist in these super command centers doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, it's really advanced stuff. So, you consider that, yeah, PBN is as black hat as I get.
Yeah, and just one last clarification, everything that we advocate now, our entire kind of if you could just take everything that we talk about as far as link building and SEO goes now, everything that we're talking about is, I guess, it's gray hat, but what we're really preaching are what you would call best practices. So,
Hmm.
it's not exactly technically white hat, which no one really is anymore. But it's doing things in a way that will be sustainable over time, that you can feel safe doing with, on your client sites. And then we give you a little taste of the dark side, with our PBNs. But even our
Yeah.
PBNs are still done
Our PBNs are
in such
more
like a
like
safe way.
our PBNs are more like what a fairly high quality guest post looks like on a bunch of different marketplaces.
Yeah,
They
it's
look
true.
like real sites. They all have actual content. There's no spun stuff, no taken stuff. It's all fresh content written. I mean, like, I feel like our PBN, it probably outdoes a whole poor Chris, poor little Christopher. Um, that's funny. Our PBN actually, resonates more like kind of lower end guest posts in the sense that the writing is all original, and it's pretty good overall. So when I first started, spun content you could still get away with on a PBN. You could still get away with having no design on a PBN, etc. And so I ran PBNs like that. Over time, my practices evolved, and so hypothetical, what you get when you like use one of our PBNs on the public network is going to resonate more like a guest post on a website. So it's just the natural progression that we came through in starting to build stuff, and then realizing, it was probably like 4 years back, 5 years back, that I went through a very heavy de-index period due to an algorithmic shift that happened targeting PBNs. And all of a sudden, me and all the major PBN vendors out there were having discussions on what we noticed, how things got popped, etc. And it was because they, essentially weren't working um, as natural sites. A lot of the vendors from those days never recovered, never came back. And for me, I remember I lost about 40% of a pretty large network. And so that heavy blow taught me that I wasn't really after the quick fix anymore. I would much rather focus on things that looked natural based on things that I'd combed through Ahrefs, etc. Just looking through backlink profiles that were natural or more natural, and then emulating those things, right? And so again, remember, like Chris said, if you're buying links, you're technically a black hat according to Google. But of course, there's different ways of wording what you're doing so that it resonates differently.
I think the
So, for
better way to
example,
talk about it is just what is commonplace and what is
mhm,
safe. I
yeah.
think that's what most people. I think that's how they use the term now. I
Well,
feel like no one really cares about Google's actual TOS,
yeah.
um, because the actual TOS doesn't matter. Like everyone
I'll,
is buying links. Like everyone is buying
I'll tell
links.
you, I know there's one particular famous SEO that I know of who has, and they call it something else, right? They call it some sort of network of sites that they have access to that they can use to help position your website better,
They
right?
word it differently.
And
It's a
so
PBN.
what is that? It's a PBN, bro. Okay? Like I don't care whether you bought all these. Hypothetical. Here's how you make a PBN white hat. You buy a bunch of websites and then you loan them out to different people, or you give them to different people, and you say, hey, you put a little content on here and there, and then maybe every once in a while I'm going to swing you a piece of content with a backlink in it, and you just go ahead and you put it up there for me. What do you know? White hat. I think at least that falls under white hat or close enough. But that's these are the differences when you're gaming an algorithm. You have to remember Google cannot write something into its algorithm that will penalize a website unless they know with 100% certainty that they are gaming their system. And so, if you take that into consideration, there's a lot of wiggle room in there as far as what's white hat and what's black hat. And so, we preach honesty here too. We're gray hat. Yeah.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Be sure to check the description below for links to our blog for more info on this topic, along with a bunch of other cool stuff like case studies, our Facebook community, and our link building services. And like always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you enjoyed the video. Thanks and happy ranking.